Welcome to the Strong, Single and Human podcast, a real look at single parenting, how to navigate the ups and downs of life with kids on your own while keeping sane. We cover all manner of subjects from domestic violence, dealing with childhood trauma, through to fussy eaters and how to help your kids become resilient. I'm your host, Claire Martin. Welcome. Fiona is the founder of Home Sweet Homes, a co-parenting journal and planner aimed at helping young children adjust to life after a separation or a divorce. As a single mother to a 5-year-old boy, she experienced firsthand the challenges that come with co-parenting, including stress, anxiety, guilt, and a lack of resources to support young children. Fiona searched for tools and products to help co-parents and their children, but found that there were very few solutions available that directly involved children. This inspired her to create the Home Sweet Homes journal and planner, which evolved from a $2 mini planner she found at a dollar store. The Home Sweet Homes journal and planner is designed to keep co-parents and their children connected and informed about each other's daily lives, while also providing comfort and joy across their two homes. Fiona's mission is to bring positivity out of a difficult situation by combining the benefits of a journal and a planner into a tool that stays with the child. After countless hours of brainstorming, writing, editing and designing, Fiona had the first prototype of Home Sweet Homes in her hands in February 2021. Let's find out all about her journey. This is the Strong, Single and Human podcast. Hi, Fiona Kong. Welcome to the podcast.
Hi, Claire. It's so great to be here.
No, thank you for coming on board. Look, I've given a brief synopsis at the beginning about who you are as such, but look, tell us a little bit more about your single parent journey, right? Because they're all different. And although becoming a single parent is not a great thing, well, I don't know. Some people would say maybe it is. But like your journey has been a lot more smoother than some of us single parents.
And it took a lot of work to get there.
Yes. So tell us more. Tell us more.
So basically my single parent journey started in 2019. My son was 2.5 at the time. And we had gone to therapy for our issues, but I think it was in it where we decided to part ways. And it was, nothing can prepare you for this, right? Like, no, it is such a big step. And, it's not a decision that you make lightly.
And nobody goes into it thinking that they're going to make that decision. Do you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Nobody,
absolutely.
Even the ones who, like me, went for a bit of a traumatic separation. But like, you don't think you're going to be at that stage.
Absolutely. So it was hard because I was the one that moved out and kind of, restarted. And it was I just remember like not feeling like I had anybody to really just have this moment with, where you're by myself. And even though I had friends, like I'm not even from like LA, I'm from Maryland. But just no family, no like friends that kind of understood it. And I think it was just, it's still shocking, right? That like you're trying to get your life together, not just a new home, but then try to adjust to an entirely different routine for yourself and your child.
Yeah.
So it was really hard. And I think it was after I kind of got settled where I just like broke down. I was like, oh my God, like, how did I get here? I think sometimes it takes longer for people to really process things. I mean, you're just so busy. I was working full
Yeah.
time, like
You
trying to
don't
find a
get
place.
time.
Like it was,
You're just coping with getting on with it.
yeah, yeah. So at that point, my son's dad and I, um, we weren't we weren't high conflict, but we weren't super friendly. We were very neutral. We would talk about like once a week, just to kind of we set these meetings where we would like get on the phone and talk about like what's going on with our son Emil, because he was 2.5, and I feel like there were so many things that we couldn't just you know our son couldn't tell us.
Yeah.
And I think I was happy that both of us, I truly feel like we both wanted to make things as comfortable as possible for him.
Yeah.
And I think that's a big difference, whether or not you agree with, what your co-parent, what they do at their home or things like that. The one thing you need to agree on is like, hey, we need to do what's best for our child,
Yeah.
even if it's not something I like or it's not something we do in our home.
Yeah.
I truly feel like even, we're 4 years in, and I still totally believe that, hey, we're at a point where it's like, if you need to take a day off, like I can ask him, and, we help each other out. We don't,
and that's how it should be. To me, that's how it should be, right? It's about having a healthy environment. You may not get on as partners, right? Anymore, right? But it's about having a healthy environment to enable your child to thrive in. It's about the kids at the end of the day.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I grew up in a household where my parents should have been divorced, right?
Wow.
So,
and
I always wished,
really?
like, always, always, always. And it was a very toxic environment. And so I just felt like even, kids can still grow up in a really good, like mentality and mindset and a good environment, even if they're in split homes. And sometimes it's just better that way.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I completely agree. And I'm sorry you grew up in a toxic environment. Your parents probably thought they were doing the right thing, right? And actually it's probably made you who you are today. So
that's why I started my business.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So let's talk about your business, right? Because, well, how did it start? Well, like, how did you go, oh, I've come out, I'm on this single parent journey, happy days. And then how did you come up with this idea?
Yeah. So I wasn't looking to start a business.
No, we have to make that clear.
Yeah. So by then my son was 3.5, and your child is going through all these milestones, they're learning new things, and when you miss out on half of their life, it really sucks. Like, let's just be frank. Like, I didn't, nobody wants to not see their kid the first time they do this and do that, right? Like, I want to be there. And the truth is, you won't be. You're going to miss out.
For some of it.
So that was one thing that was going on. But another thing was my son was always asking me where he was going to be, because we were on a 2-2-3 schedule. I'm not sure if you're familiar with.
Oh my God, what's that? What's a 2-2-3?
So that's our scheduled rotation. So 2 days with dad, 2 days with me, 3 days with dad, and then the next week it flips.
Yeah.
So the days of the week are not consistent. So 1 weekend he'll be with me, 1 weekend he'll be with dad. And for a 3-year-old, that's a really hard thing to process. They just want to be like, I'm with you on Saturdays, right? Like, so it was just a really hard thing for him to keep track of. So I had a calendar at my house. I know for a fact that dad didn't have one at his. And I was like, well, I can't force it. I can't make him do it. Like, and So I was like, how can I help him with, like just help him feel at ease and just more in the know? Because I feel like this could be a very stressful thing when
Well,
you don't,
I think
you're just bouncing around. And
even if you're an adult, right? Like, we all have our own calendars and they all sit on our little tiny phones. And, but we know where we are the next day and stuff like that. And I can imagine as a child, that's
yeah,
quite discombobulating
I know, especially if there's changes, and there's always, I've had to say like, hey, I can't keep them for an extra day. Like, can you do like things come up?
Yeah,
Things
they
come
do.
up. So that was another component, like the scheduling. But then, the first one was missing out on his life. The second was the scheduling component. And then thirdly, I had been laid off from my job that same year. So
when
I
was this? Was this the
unemployed.
beginning of COVID or?
This was the summer before COVID. So this was June 2019. I was like, what am I going to do with my life? And
it's full on.
Yeah. And I was, there was nobody really hiring at that time because it was full on COVID. So, things find you in the oddest ways, but I was at a dollar store and I was not even looking for anything, but I saw this little planner and I wish I had it with me, but it was this one. I'll actually show you here. This little planner.
Wow.
So it was $2 at the dollar store. And I was like,
just for people who are listening, right, this is just a little ring binder book, basically, like a little diary, isn't it?
Yeah.
Which basically just has the dates and that's it.
It was cute because it was kid size, right? I was like, this is perfect for him.
Yeah.
So we put his name, we put some stickers on it. And then I was like, okay, I'm going to write what we did at our house. And we were potty training at the time. So there were just like useful things that we could write in here to send to the other parent's house without actually having to talk. So the first time it came back from his dad's house and he willingly did it, I was like, oh my God, this is great. I got to know that he went to dinner at Chipotle or he, went to play with, this friend or, just little bits about his life that I wouldn't have known.
Well, because also I have a boy and he's 7 and they just don't tell you stuff. You go, how was your day at school? And he goes, great. And you go, oh, okay. Did you do much? Nope. And they're one word answers, right? So you don't get to actually even understand what he's gone through. So, and your son was 3.5, right? So they're not even at that grunting stage. So,
So we did write a lot about potty training, but also just, what he had for dinner and like if he had a hard day. So,
that's cool.
It was this little book. And then I was like, okay, well, I'm also curious how he feels, right? Because he seemed to have a hard time transitioning to my house because it wasn't the house he grew up in. And I kind of was like wondering if that was a trigger or something that was difficult for him. So I was like, okay, maybe I should make like a journal or a planner for this because nothing existed. And I looked on Amazon, I looked everywhere. There isn't a lot made for young kids, like elementary school kids that are products of divorce. So I was like, I thought about it for a little bit and I was like, should I do it? Like, is this a dumb idea? Like, could this really
all those
work?
doubts that come up when you start something and you go, oh, nobody's going to do this. Nobody's going to listen to this podcast and things like that. Yeah.
There you go. So, and I had no single parent friends at the time to even ask, right? So got on Instagram, started getting on, single parent, communities and following people. I made some few friends and I was like, I'm going to run this by them. And I did some market research. That's what I used to do in my old job.
Oh,
I used to do
wow.
research. So it did come in handy.
Yeah, no, definitely.
And I got some good feedback. I was like, okay, I'm just going to do it because I'm not doing anything right now. I
Yeah.
don't know what I want to do. And I started going to like bookstores and trying to figure out like what components I wanted in a journal and just like getting a bunch of ideas. And I started mocking it up in Canva. Are you familiar with? I
Yeah,
think
I know
everyone's
Canva.
familiar.
Yeah. I think everyone knows
So
Canva, but yeah.
yeah, so I started mocking it up in there, and then I hired a designer to professionally do it, like just to
Yeah.
make it clean. And then it was February of 2021 is when I got the first sample
Wow.
copy. And I,
Yes.
yeah, I ended up running like a crowdfunding campaign, which got funded and got my first bulk order of journals later
Wow.
that year. I think it was like September of 2021.
That's
So here we are,
amazing.
2 years later. Actually, it's my 2-year birthday.
Oh, yay.
Yeah.
Wow. And so okay, as we've sort of explained how it works, but I suppose your idea has morphed a little bit further from the ring binder book that you bought for your son.
Okay.
So talk us through how does your planner work? And your planner is called Home Sweet Homes, isn't it? As
Yes,
in
thank you
home
for
sweet
mentioning it. Which
two
two
homes, as
homes?
in homes journal,
Yes.
isn't it? It's a journal, Home Sweet Homes journal.
So funny. I have not mentioned it till this
No,
point.
that's okay. No, that's okay. That's fine. Like, I can read the book because you're holding it out, right? So I can see it.
Yeah.
But yeah, no,
So
that's
funny.
right. So it's a journal for two homes for your
It's a
child.
journal and a yearly undated planner. So the kid
Right.
takes it back with them. It lasts for a year. The way it starts out is I wanted to also include affirmations and some kind of,
Yeah.
way to help build up their self-talk because, I told you how I didn't grow up in a household that I didn't feel emotionally supported
Yeah.
in a way that, you know, where I believed in myself and I just was taught. I felt shamed a lot, and nothing was ever good
Yeah.
enough.
Yeah.
Um, I hope you can't relate, but I know that there probably are many
I
people
think
that.
I the problem is I think any 70s or 80s child can relate to any of that. So
Yeah,
yeah, we're from a different
yeah,
generation. and
I
and look,
absolutely.
and there's no, like, at the end of the day, you only know what you know, right? So in those way back then, like, nobody knew all about the stuff that we talk
100%.
about and read and cover off nowadays for kids.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
life just seems to get more and more complicated for them as we go further forward. So, like, I don't know. Although there are issues with maybe how we were brought up, um, they were innocent times.
Yeah, it's like
Yeah.
they did the best they could with what they knew,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So, not blaming my parents at all. That's just
No.
they did what they could.
Yeah.
So it was so important to me to include affirmations and just activities that fostered like a growth mindset. And
Yeah.
I was like, my son is so young. I need to start talking about this now.
Yeah.
And that was really even hard for me because I've never really I've never really talked to myself kindly, like it was.
Yeah. Yeah. There's always
Yeah.
that critical voice inside your head that goes, who's going to listen to this podcast? Who's even going to want to come on, Fiona? And things like that, right? And I could be sitting here talking to myself, and I'm sure you had things go through your head, that self-criticism that I've actually tamed mine a little bit, but like, yeah, that self-criticism that's within your head, that you
Mm-hmm.
doubt
Mm-hmm.
yourself.
Yeah.
And well, I'm hoping I'm not instilling that in my child, but like, you hope that your children don't have that. You hope your children thrive
Yeah.
and become the best people they possibly can. But the world sometimes does kick them and like make them doubt themselves. But that's what we're here as parents to do, is to go, hey,
That
no,
it
you're
makes
okay.
you become very conscious
Yeah.
of, like what you say to them and,
Yeah.
the words that, the how they're spoken to. So it
Yes.
basically, before the yearly planner part, it has a first section is called it's all about me. So
Oh,
that affirmation is I am unique. And it's meant to capture just information about them in the present. So how much they
yeah.
weigh, how much tall they are. Because I wanted this to be a memory book. Like I was so awful at putting together my son's baby book.
Oh, me
Like,
too.
I
Me
know, I'm like,
too.
I don't think he has one. So I was like, I just want to do it in the most painless way possible.
Yeah.
But I think it's cool to have, everyone contribute. So this
Yeah.
journal is meant for, both parents and, the child to contribute. So, my son, he's practicing
Yeah.
his
No, that's
handwriting.
awesome.
And so when he grows up, he wants to be a toy maker. And then just their
Wow.
favorite things. So their favorite game, TV show, food. I love this page. So it's his
Pictures.
handprint.
So pictures and handprints and things like that on that
Yeah.
page,
So that's the
which is just
first
awesome.
section. I'll quickly go
Because you
through
get
it.
to keep that. I've got handprints and footprints of my son as well, which is just, I mean, it's bloody hard when they're like a month old or whatever, but it's just really nice to actually see how tiny their feet were.
I know.
Although I think my son came out and he looked like an orangutan because he was all hands and arms, and then
Oh,
yeah, no, like it was unbelievable, but obviously he's evened out now. But yeah, our hands and arms. But I don't know. Amazing, amazing. So you worked through as a parent with your child, filling this book in as such.
yes. For younger children, they'll need assistance filling it
Yeah.
out, which I think is great to,
Yeah.
the 5 minutes I sit with my son in bed saying, each day has space
Yeah.
for them to circle their
Oh,
faces if they're
right.
happy,
Yeah, yeah,
sad.
yeah. Sad or whatever.
That
Yeah.
is such a valuable time
Yeah.
and was such quality time spent together, where he's
Yeah.
like, okay, I felt sad today because my friend, like something happened with his friend. I'm like, it's the little things now that, like I eventually want my son to come to me with any problem, right? Like I don't ever
Yeah.
want him to hold it inside, feel like he can't talk to his dad or
Yeah.
I. And this is what I'm building is like great communication between, and a relationship between your
Yeah.
child and each of their parents. Um, so at night we just take a couple of minutes. Sometimes he doesn't feel like it, and that's okay. Like I'll write in a note for him, which I'm like, one day he's gonna get to read,
Yeah.
like a nice note from me. Like
Yeah.
so I never force him. So right now he's almost 7. He still can't, he's still not writing on his own, but he likes to write a sight word sometimes and things like that. So it really
Yeah.
depends on the day. Like there's no hard rule. I don't want this to be a chore for him.
Yeah.
I just want him to know it's like, this is your tool. Like if you ever need to know where you're going to be, like I put in his, school, like events and his,
Yeah.
the doctor's appointment and school picture. Like there's so many things happening. And I'm like, okay, well, I think between his dad and, and I, and we just kind of need a central place where my son too can be involved
Yeah.
in it. Yeah.
And it's nice because it's a physical thing. It's not an online thing. It's actually a physical book that you can put on a bookshelf and you can pick up later when you're 40, 50 or whatever, and just read and go, oh my God, 2-year-old me was that. And 4-year-old me was that. And wow, look how tiny my hands are and stuff like that. So, yeah, no, I think it's great. Look, can any child, is this advisable for just your younger children, or can any child have this and use this?
I have kids as old as 11 using it, and
Wow.
they can, and they've actually chosen, some of them have chosen to keep it private, which
Ooh,
I think
okay.
is, yeah, which I think is absolutely okay too. They can show parts of it, with their parent. But just knowing what's inside, I think the parent can still have a good conversation as far
Yeah.
as, when I ask my son, and with the five faces in there,
Yeah.
sometimes my son's not ready to share, but then I share with him first. I said,
Yeah.
oh, today wasn't a great day for me because this and this and this happened. And, like just getting into that, like we expect our kids to just answer us, right? Like we expect
Yeah.
answers, answers, answers. And
Yeah.
I don't necessarily want that. I want this to be a two-way street of like him knowing me and me knowing him. So I share with him if he's not like into telling me about like, how he feels. I'll be like, well, can I tell you how I felt today? And he's always like, yes.
Yeah.
So it's really cool to you know, it can be adapted to any child's needs. It's a
Mm.
journal, right?
Yeah.
Like it does. There's no like you have to do it this way.
Yeah.
You can keep it private. It can be. It's I had intended it to be a shared journal, but in some cases, the kid, if they just want it to be their own like diary, that's okay too.
Yeah. No, that's fair enough. That's fair enough. And when I was sitting there listening to you talk about the fact that you share your feelings first, right? I mean, we all process stuff differently, right? Some of us need to just internally process what we're doing to then be able to get it out of our body. Other people like me, on the other hand, have to get it out of my body to be able to process it, right? But kids are the same, right? They're human beings. They're just littler ones. And they have their own ways of doing things. Doesn't matter whether they're 2, 5, 8, 24, which is more like our age. Well, I wish I was 24.
Yeah.
But
Let's go with that.
yeah, let's go with that. But yeah, so I do the same thing. I share if I can't get my son to talk. That sounds like I coerce him, but like it's about just saying, "Oh, I've had a really rubbish day, buddy," and like having that, because you then come across as human, right? You then come across as, oh, mum and dad have rubbish days too, right? It's not just me, and it then makes it's a normality to their lives that everyone has rubbish days. So it's not just me that has rubbish days, and they don't feel isolated and alone with their rubbish days, right? We all do. It's life, right? So, wow. Yeah, no, like what was the pivotal turning point for you to go, yep, I'm going to actually I'm going to do this as a business, right? Because that always interests me, because we can have loads and loads and loads of ideas, and never do anything with them. So how did you actually go? So was it the market research you did, or did you just go,
I
oh,
think,
sod it, I'm just going to do it. Just do it.
Even with good feedback, I still, in the back of my mind, had doubt and like, oh my God, am I going to actually spend my time and my money and my effort doing this? And I think once the turning point was actually when I hired a designer, but leading up to it, I was kind of like in a business mind where I'm like doing like a SWOT analysis.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, there's nothing else in the market. The cost of this startup is relatively low. And that's why I decided to do a crowdfunding campaign. It's like, I don't have a job.
Yeah.
I'm just going to, like I can always go back. And I think I just loved it so much.
So what about if you don't get on with your co-parentee, as it were? So what about if you don't get on with the other parent?
How to use the journal?
Yeah. Yeah. How do you,
question?
can you use it if you don't get on with it?
Okay. I have a solution for this. And
okay.
I feel like if you still want to journal with your child, like one, if they can write on their own, this makes things a lot easier because they can just take it back and forth with them. They don't necessarily need the other parent to write in it. But yeah, for the ages 4 to 7, or I don't know when they're totally independent writers, but so when your child is at home with you, you do the journal as is. And then when it's time for them to go to their other parent's house, keep it with you and you write in it while they're away. Like, as I said, like I've written like sweet notes, just notes of encouragement, like a memory, like how my day was. Like, it's just a journal in between you two. And like, the way I prepare my son to go over to his dad's house is like, we always review the schedule, like for the week, like, hey, this is your like schedule and any events. So that way, like if they go to their other parent's house, they still at least have had that review with you as far as what to expect, which takes away, like that's one of the components that this journal is supposed to do. But when they come back, they can come back and like write a joke in it, like something cute. Like it doesn't matter. That's what I'm saying. It doesn't matter what it is. Just write in something that you feel would bring a smile to your child's face.
Yeah, and like you said, right, it can be a journal between you and your child, right? Yeah. You use it as a journal between the three of you, but if it doesn't work, then you can use it just between you and your child. Because I know my son has, if he's not with me, I don't know why he thinks I'm going to run away or something like that, but if he's not with me, he does get anxiety that I'm still around and still there when he gets back. I don't know where I'm going. I'm not sure what holiday I'm taking. And 9 times out of 10, and because I have him 24/7 most of the time, so that may be where it's unusual for him not to be with me. And so that causes the anxiety, maybe, I don't know. But yeah, so something like that where I can actually write, this is what I did on my day without you, would make him feel, and I know we speak about it, would make him feel like he's still part of my life when he's not in my life, which is sort of, I think, very, very important. And that, there are times where I've gone out for the evening to the theatre, right? And he's like, well, I'm not going, because he is with me 24/7, right? And he goes, but I'm not going with you. And I'm like, no, but you're always with me in my head. I'm always thinking about you. And so things like that, it would be interesting having how that all panned out as such. So have you found that this has helped your son? Like, what have you found has come out of it from your son?
He wasn't a very verbal child as far as expressing himself. So I think he's more cerebral, where he's like, I need to put it to paper. Very like thinking. So the feelings part, like he is so ready to just circle the faces. Like we've been doing this, for a while now. But he's clearly thought about it, so I love that, if he doesn't want to talk about it, he can, this is a alternative way to express it. He actually had a tough day at school last week, and I just said, you can draw about your day, like whatever you want to do. And he drew, there was something he did, he made a mistake. And I was doing my journal while he was next to me. He was doing his journal. And I like looked over and he had drawn a time machine.
Oh, shame. So you wanted to go back in time to change and not make the mistake.
But we talked about it. It's like, hey, mistakes are okay. Like it's part of growing up and learning.
I'm going to make a lot more, buddy. But that's okay.
Like
otherwise
having
you don't learn, you don't grow.
This was like such a great point of conversation for us, I think. Like if he had not done that, I was like, oh, maybe he feels regret. Maybe he feels embarrassed or ashamed. Like, right. There's a lot of things that a child can feel that you may have no idea if you don't ask.
Well, and also they may not understand until they actually get it out of their body, like someone like me. Like they may have all these feelings, but until you actually talk it through with them, and go, oh, a time machine, like, what would you want that time machine to change? Or, it's about questioning them to actually understand. And then you can like recognize and go, oh, so you were embarrassed, you felt embarrassed, and you can confirm their emotion so that they go, oh, okay, that feeling was embarrassment as such or whatever. So no, it's amazing.
So
it's amazing.
There's that. And then each month starts with the affirmation, and we actually write it on the mirror for the month.
Wow.
We write it on the mirror. He does it, and we practice it, before he goes to school. I'm like, hey, what are your affirmations for today? And sometimes he doesn't want to say it, but sometimes he has a bunch to rattle off. But one of them is, I am kind to all. And each week there's like a very simple exercise. Like, it doesn't require anything, but one of them was, what is something kind you could do for the planet? Right. So we've been doing beach cleanups.
Wow.
And he asks me sometimes to just do it, like, without, like, I don't have it planned, but he's like, Mom, can we go clean up the beach today? I'm like, of course, buddy. Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah.
So this is like, I wanted it to be like a all-in-one kind of like teaching tool, and, just being a good person, these were all affirmations that I thought long and hard about. So I love that this one especially, we probably do a beach cleanup a couple times a year. Just us two. Yeah.
Which is cool, which is great. It's instilling such good values and behaviors in your child, which is what we need, which is what we're there for. So, have you found having the journal has made the separation with your ex-partner easier? Has it helped you with getting on?
It does both sometimes. It does both. Sometimes you find out things you're like, oh, like, you didn't tell me that. Like I'm like, always like, oh, should I share it? He took our son out of school one day, and our school here just started. Like, it's only been like 3 weeks.
And hadn't told you, but wrote it in the journal. That's hilarious. Yes.
That's exactly what happened. I was like, oh, so I actually messaged him. I'm like, don't you think you should have told me that? And he was like, oh, he explained himself. And I was like, hey, next time tell me.
But it's no, that's funny. It's all
So
it's almost like the journal's a confession. The journal's a confession to go, oh yeah, no, I'm confessing. I took him out of school.
I could totally see how, higher conflict parents who aren't as, like, it could cause problems. But at the same time, you gotta see what the good it does. Like, I feel I love getting a glimpse into their life, like, when they're not with me, when he's not with me. It definitely, I think he's such a good dad. Like, he's such a great dad. Like,
well, I was going to say, the fact that he's filling it in and still continuing to is awesome.
He totally supports my business. He stored journals at his place because he helps me bring it to the post office. Like, he's great.
Awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome. No, that's fair enough. So has there been any other, because like you guys have worked so well together, separate, but like you just said, right? Like, he has helped you out with your business. He's still completing and filling in the journal and things like that. Has there been anything else that you've actually gone, apart from the journal, that's made your transition to co-parenting, I think is what I would like to call it, is transition to co-parenting easier?
Okay.
I mean, the journal's helped.
It does. But I think ultimately it boils down to self-awareness. And, it's kind of deep, but like, I feel like I wasn't able to really be authentically myself until I went through all my childhood trauma.
Yeah.
And, it's all connected, right? So I know it's a very deep answer, but I don't know if I still would have been like kind of standoffish or not as willing. Like I don't know, but it's really helped me, you know, just understand who I am and say, hey, like, hey, this is what I need from you,
Yeah.
and like, so it's hard because it's a continual process, a continual journey, like open communication, which is hard when you're in the relationship, but then when you have
Yeah.
to continue it out, that's
Yeah.
really hard too.
And it's not like when you didn't have children, right? And you would be in a relationship and you would separate and you might never ever see that person again, right? You're seeing this person, and I know this, but you're seeing this person every time that your child sees them or whatever,
Yeah.
9 times out of 10. And you have to deal with that. And that's okay, because there may have been things that you've needed to deal with and transition through, that you needed this person in your life to help you, assist you, give you a view of, that then helped you grow as a person, right? So it's okay.
Yeah.
I think we have such a horrible view of becoming a single parent and going, oh no, I've failed. I'm a single parent. Why couldn't I have continued the relationship? Why, maybe I should have given up more. Maybe I should have done X, Y, and Z, or what, I don't know. Right. But like, maybe you shouldn't, maybe you should have, maybe you were destined to be with this first person for a period of time, 2, 10 years, 20 years, 5 years, I don't know, to awaken something in you and to get you to pursue and look at yourself. I don't know. My God, am I being a bit profound here at like 7 a.m. on a Thursday morning? But
you're gonna have a big day.
Oh my God, Jesus! I hope my day is like not as profound as this, but like, but it's true, right? Like I feel as though people come in and out of your life to assist and help you grow as a person.
I love
and
that.
some of them stay for like 50 years, like my mum and dad. And my God, they've got a lot of lessons to learn, it would seem, if they're together 50 years. But they've grown together, right? Some of them, like me, I go 8-year stints and then that's it. So, yeah, hey ho. It's all good. How do people get in contact with you? Because it's been awesome talking about this journal, Fiona, but we haven't actually spoken and told anyone how they can get it.
Yeah, let's okay, so my website is Home Sweet Homes Journal, and that's also my Instagram handle and my TikTok handle.
Yeah, so if they put in Home Sweet Homes with an S on the end, right, your journal would come up.
There has to be a journal, yeah.
Oh, so there has to have journal on it, or can they just put Home Sweet Homes with an S on it and it would come up? I'm now going to test it. It would not come up?
It would not
Are you sure? I'm just going to test it now, right? Because
there's a lot of real estate.
Oh, God, is there?
Yeah.
Jesus, these blooming real estate agents.
Which makes sense.
Well, it would, but like Home Sweet Homes? Well, yes. There is someone, well, we're not even going to go there. There is somebody in Victoria who has a plate called Home Sweet Home, but it's not Homes. I have to say, your journal is second on the Google search.
Oh, I thank you for sharing that with me.
So there we go, people. Second on the journal search. So just type in Home Sweet Homes with an S, or you can put journal on the end. But if you forget that, don't worry, because it'll come up. And that's cool. And so, yeah, yours all comes up. It's all good. So that's great. That's awesome. So I have one final question for you, Fiona. And I'm wondering, I'm asking this question to my guests because I'm just interested. And it's also little tiny nuggets of wisdom, I think, that hopefully will help somebody out there. So what piece of advice have you been given that you still use today?
This was what I learned. after my separation,
Mm-hmm.
I listened to so many of those self-help podcasts.
Oh my God, yes.
I was in it,
my
right? Like,
hours of darkness. In my hours of darkness, I'm going, there must be some light at the end of the tunnel somewhere. Somewhere.
You too?
Drag me out of this hole. Yes. Yes.
You too. So we kind of touched upon it earlier, but it is to change your self-talk.
Yeah.
Because nobody will be a bigger advocate for you, of what you do, your goals, than you, right?
Yeah.
And I just never realized how, growing up in a very negative, like, spoken to very negatively, and I was like,
Yeah.
like, this is how I think.
Yeah.
It's terrible. Yeah. But literally everything was like a doubt, and my son's dad had pointed that out to me. That was something he told me. I was like, do I do that? And yeah, so change your self-talk.
I agree with you, because I even still do it now, where somebody will go, oh, you're fantastic at that. And I'll go, no, I'm not. Because I go, no, I'm not. I'm just me. I just do what I do, right? But they go, no, that was awesome. And yeah, and you should just go. And I'm now starting to turn around and go, yeah, no, it was. Thanks.
It was awesome.
Yeah. Do you know what I mean?
Right. They always say, like, talk to yourself as you would to a friend, because you would never say the things to your friend that you would say to yourself.
No, I would never go to a friend. Really? You think that's awesome? What are you on? Right. But like, I would say, no, it's awesome. I would agree with whoever was saying they're awesome.
You're very encouraging to your friends. So
yeah, no, exactly. And also, and I know when I started this podcast 2 years ago, well, over 2 years ago now, we're now into year 3, right? That 2 months before I started the podcast, I was like, why am I doing this? Who's going to listen to this? I'm not making any money out of this. Why am I doing this? And I just went, well, what would happen if I didn't do it? Like, nothing in the world would happen, right? So why not do something, and maybe something will happen? What am I fearful of? And there was everything from, like, what about if somebody picks this up and sends it to my ex-partner and he misconstrues some subject I'm talking about and takes me to court? Or everything went through my head. And I'm sure, like, you would have gone through various different fear setting in your head as well with the business. Like, what about if I spend all my money on this and then I'm getting debt, and like, what about if it doesn't work and then I have nowhere to live? All of these various different things that are generated up in your head as like self-preservation, right? It's our reptilian brain that's going and saying all these things. But has any of that happened to you, Fiona? Doesn't look like you're homeless. You've now got your second consignment of books. So yeah, I think all these things that we fear and we conjure up don't actually happen. I've got people listening to this. So, and I've got so many people wanting to come on the podcast. It's untrue. So yeah, no, it's fantastic. It's fantastic. So look, thank you so much for coming on board and telling us about your creation, your planner. And thank you for creating it, because there was nothing out there. And it's another way to connect with our kids. And we need as many as we can.
Yeah. One day he'll be like, maybe like 80 years old, and he's going to have handwritten notes from, mom and dad. I'm like,
I know.
I would have killed for that, right?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Because one day you and dad aren't going to be around. And that's what he's going to treasure and pass down. And, and yeah, I agree. I mean, my son's going to have all this audio. Not sure what he's going to do with all of this, but that's okay. No, cool. Look, I'm going to let you go, because it's your afternoon or your evening where you are. It's my morning. I've got to get my son up, get him fed, get him into school. So it's all good. But thank you for coming on board and telling us about this. And I hope you have all of the success you want.
Thank you. And same to you. I know we're both doing hard things, but we can do it. We're doing it.
Yeah. Thanks for listening. If you've enjoyed this podcast and you would like to hear more, please hit subscribe wherever you like to hear podcasts. If you would like to support us further, share this episode with your friends and family. And finally, drop us a review on iTunes, as I'd love to hear your thoughts, comments and ideas. It all helps me to understand and produce awesome content you want to hear just like this. If you want to check out our past episodes, write to us, appear on the podcast, or for links, resources and show notes, go to our website www.strongsingleandhuman.com. We are also on all the usual social media platforms, Insta, Facey and Twitter. I hope you have a wonderful week, and I hope to see you back here again soon. Be kind to yourself and remember, no one is perfect. We're all just putting one foot in front of the other and doing our best. I'm Claire Martin, and you've been listening to the Strong, Single and Human podcast.